On August 17, 1922, about 25 prominent men of the village of Cimarron gathered to talk about forming a club with the purpose of pursuing social, civic, and educational activities while avoiding political and religious viewpoints. On August 31st at 7 p.m., 50 men gathered at the community church building for the first official meeting of the Maverick Club. We'll learn more about this group and their connection to Philmont in this edition of Artifact of the Week. On August 20th, 1922, a letter was sent to the men of the village of Cimarron announcing it was unanimously decided to proceed at once with the formation and organization of a club open for membership to all the eligible men of the community. The proposed club was to be free of politics and non-sectarian, and that it have as its object not alone the promotion of good fellowship among the men of the village through the medium of its social activities, but that it will be educational and civic in its scope as well. The plan called for the club to meet once each month and that there would be no dues or other assessments collected, and once a man was invited to join, he was a member for life. The name of this new group was the Maverick Club. The name was adopted as being appropriate to a group of strays that neither the Rotary, Kiwanis, nor the Lions could brand under their rules, yet which members desired to follow the spirit and objectives of such clubs. The incorporation letter concluded with, "We are favored in having a splendid body of men in our community and with a fine little hall to meet in. We want this club to be a real, live, and influential factor in our community, which, however, it can never hope to be unless we have the loyal support and close cooperation of all the men. Pride in our village should make our membership a unity. Very truly yours, Temporary Committee." The organizational meeting was held at the community church building at 7 p.m. on August 31st, 1922, with 50 men attending and becoming the founding members of the Cimarron Maverick Club. On July 4th, 1923, the club hosted its first July 4th rodeo, now billed as the longest-running open rodeo in the West. So what's the connection between the Maverick Club, the 4th of July rodeo, and Philmont Scout Ranch? Well, not surprisingly, Waite Phillips was a Maverick Club member, and many of the early rodeos were held at Philmont Ranch. Check out this 1927 panoramic photo from the rodeo. In 1935, Phillips donated 35 acres to the Maverick Club to provide a permanent home for the rodeo. I think a donation like this is something that scouts and scouters that come to Philmont can truly appreciate. In the Philmont collection here at the National Scouting Museum, we have several of the programs from the rodeo over the years, the oldest being this 1926 program, when the rodeo was held on July 5th, as the 4th of July was a Sunday. The program shows the event being held at Philmont Ranch on what was then called Canyon Road. Events at this rodeo included a boys and girls foot race, with the prize being a pocket knife for the boys and a box of candy for the girls. A men's 100-yard foot race, with the prize being a thermos bottle, a flashlight, and a safety razor. There was a pack horse race, which based on the brief description sounds like each contestant had to provide 2 horses and a bedroll in order to compete. The prizes for this contest were $10, a box of cigars, and a safety razor. Another event for the day was the Indian Pony Race, open to Taos Indians only. The race covered 1 to 2 miles, and the winners received $15, $5, a safety razor. 2 other races mentioned with no description were the Roman Race and the Stake Race. Now, based on some research of other long-standing Western rodeos, it's likely that the Roman Race involved a rider standing on the back of 2 horses running side by side, in this case for a distance of 1 to 2 miles. The prizes were either $5 or $10. The Stake Race was likely a winner-take-all race of some predetermined distance. No description is provided, and I'm guessing it's because anyone in attendance already knew what it was and what to expect. I attended a rodeo once in eastern Colorado where the rules and distance of what they called their stake race were announced as the race was beginning. Now, I imagine preparing for a race like that would be a little more difficult. On that particular day, the cowboy had to saddle his horse and ride from the arena to a location about a half a mile away, where he retrieved an object and returned it to the arena. It was an exciting race, as the first to saddle his horse wasn't the one who crossed the finish line first. The program also tells us that refreshments were provided by the Ladies' Aid. I think my favorite race listed in the program would have to be the Fat Man's 50-yard foot race, with the prizes being a box of cigars and a safety razor. For what it's worth, I think this race should be brought back for future rodeos. We could call it the Dad Bod 50. If you were paying attention, you might have noticed that the safety razor was a recurring prize during this rodeo. Tomlinson Hardware donated 4 safety razors for the 1926 rodeo, with Livingston Drugstore donating a 5th. The collection also has the 1944 program, with admission costing 50 cents and parking on the grounds was a quarter. Names of people that might be familiar to those knowledgeable about Philmont included Ed Springer, Gene Hayward, Minor Huffman, and Jack Nairn. Refreshments were provided by the Von Moore American Legion post of Raton and can be found under the grandstands and throughout the grounds. The menu included barbecued meat, hamburgers, beer, soft drinks, and ice cream. This disclaimer on the bottom of the cover is also interesting. It reads, "This show is not intended for professional rodeo hands, and all members of the Turtle Club, which is made up of big-time rodeo performers, are therefore barred. It is a non-profit enterprise and all charges are applied to prizes, expenses, and upkeep." Grounds and improvements were donated to the Maverick Club by Mr. Waite Phillips. About the Turtle Club. In 1929, the Rodeo Association of America was formed to create a standard set of rules allowing for world champions to be recognized in bronc riding, bareback riding, bull riding, steer roping, calf roping, bulldogging, team roping, and even wild cow milking. Its membership was comprised entirely of rodeo committees and producers, but not the contestants. In 1936, the Cowboys at a rodeo overseen by the Rodeo Association of America and being held at the Boston Garden went on strike just as the rodeo opened. The Cowboys at another rodeo being held in Chicago and governed by the RAA supported the strike. As a result, the Boston Garden's management forced the rodeo promoter and the RAA to meet the Cowboys' demands. The success of the strike led the group to organize officially as the Cowboys Turtle Association, so named because they were slow to organize but eventually stuck their necks out. In 1945, the group changed its name to the Rodeo Cowboy Association. The Maverick Club Rodeo is more than just a rodeo. It's also a reunion of old friends that return annually to Cimarron for the 4th of July celebration. The connection between Philmont, the Maverick Club, and the 4th of July Rodeo remains strong, with many former and current seasonal and year-round Philmont staff members being members of the Maverick Club, working to help put on the rodeo, and even a few staff members that compete during the events. Maverick Club events and their annual silent auction raise money that goes to supporting veterans and for scholarships to local students. The Cimarron Civic Club runs the concessions these days, with the money raised through their concession sales going to fund local community projects and scholarships for local students. Members of Scouts BSA Troop 68, both the boys and girls, collect entry fees at the gates, with part of the proceeds going directly to the Scouts to fund summer camp, NYLT, and other related activity fees. Well, that's all the time we have for this week. Join us next time as we continue to learn more about the history of Scouting America through the collection of the National Scouting Museum and Artifact of the Week.